My student Amaya had a simple problem that I thought we would try to solve. And so she's making this simple sort of rocking chair scene with these curtains. And she asked how she could make her rocking chairs rock. She was having a little bit of trouble making that happen. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. Let's select these rocking chairs that she's made. And looks like she's keeping her files and everything, her objects well named and organized, mostly. But we'll notice that the center of the geometry is up here. So if we try to make our chair rock, if we turn on like the rotate widget here and try to rotate it, it's not going to quite rotate the way we normally like our rocking chairs to rotate. So what we have to do is have a new pivot point. And there's a few ways we can do that. One way would be to move that geometry or the rotation point to a place down here. Or we could tie our rocking chair to an empty and go that route. With any good software, there's 100 ways to get to the same problem. And so let's try the empty method. And so if I go into edit mode, I notice that Amaya had already had these vertices selected, which is exactly the vertices we want to have selected. Because we want to be able to put our 3D cursor right here in the center between the rocking thingies of a rocking chair. So I'm going to hit Shift S and say cursor to selected. Because both of these were selected, it goes in between them. And so now our 3D cursor is right there. Let's go back into object mode by hitting Tab, and let's hit Shift A. Let's add an empty with plane axes. So now we've made this empty, but you can see it's not quite lined up with the chair. So I'm going to look straight down on it. I'm going to go into wireframe mode and line up this empty so it is aligned with the chair. Just going to eyeball it. It's pretty good. All right, now let's go back into our pretty mode here, and let's tie our chair to our empty. And the quickest way to do that is to select the chair, hold down Shift, select the empty, hit Control P, and then choose Object and keep transform. Now the chair is tied to the empty, and if we select the empty, we can move the chair around. But likewise, if we rotate the empty, RX, we can do that. Now you'll notice though, I'm rotating it on the X-axis that is aligned with the world and not aligned with the empty. So what we want to do is change our rotate settings to align not with global, but with local. So that way, when we rotate it, it's aligned locally here with the empty, like this. And so then if I hit R and then X, we're just rotating on the X-axis. Now, probably don't want to rotate too far, or we'll make it sink into the ground. But I think this will create the illusion effectively. And so I'm just going to come out here. I'm going to set some keyframes. I'm going to go to the beginning of the movie. And let's just have it start its rotation moving forward. So we'll just rotate it a little bit. This is just a granny chair, so it's not going to rotate very much. And we'll just set a keyframe by hitting the I key. And so now we've created a keyframe for the location, rotation, and scale, as it does when we do that. We only need rotation, but this is fine for this project. And let's have it do a slow rocking. So we'll come down about a second or so, and we'll set another keyframe, RX, and have it just rotate a little bit backwards, and hit I again. So now we'll see that it is rocking back and forth, but it's not going back yet. So let's go ahead and just duplicate this keyframe at the beginning, Shift D, and move that over so that way it starts at the same point that it ends. Good? So now, let's make that repeat. So I'm going to switch my timeline to the graph editor. And we see the curve of our rocking motion here on the X-axis. And so all we need to do if we want that to repeat is add a modifier. And so if you don't have this in panel open in your curves editor, hit the N key. Come over to modifiers and choose cycles. And now we see that the frames that we've set up here are now cycling, and we'll do it again and again. So we have a rocking chair. And that's all there is to it. If we need to change the speed of that, we simply come back to the timeline or the dope sheet or stay in the curve editor, and we make these keyframes closer together. The easiest way to scale a speed is to put your playhead where you want to scale it from. select all the keyframes, and then you can hit S for scale. And then it will scale the distance between those keyframes. So if I have it really close together, if I switch back to the curve editor, graph editor, see now it's a really fast swing, which is not good. That means grandma's very nervous. And if we spread it out, let's go back to the timeline and put our cursor or 3 playhead, whatever you want to call it, and scale that out. Now we play it, and grandma's having a very peaceful day. And we've made a rocking chair. Hey, if you have any questions or concerns or problems that you're trying to figure out with Blender, one thing I'm going to do on this channel is answer your questions to the best of my abilities. So send me a message, and I will try to figure out your problem.